Good evening, folks, or good day, whatever time it is of the day it is for you. Welcome to Colin's Monthly Highlights. I'm your host, Colin McAndrew. Like and subscribe to Metal Minded. Many thanks to these folks for hosting me and wanting to just share lots of great metal music with you guys. I'm going to try to rush through. I know I said last time I would try to rush through for the March highlights, and I did not do a very good job. I had to split into two parts. So let's see if we can try to avoid that and keep it all in one, and hopefully in less than 40 minutes. Let's see how we can get through this. So what I'm going to do is essentially I'm going to focus more on select few releases throughout my list, like the main highlights. But to still discuss more music or to mention more releases, if you so desire to listen to more stuff, I'm going to have my honorable mentions. And those I'm just going to simply list through with very minor details of genre and whatnot. And I'll still have them in my Spotify playlist, so they're there for you to listen to if you so desire to go through and just listen to everything that I'm talking about. So hopefully that makes things a little more brief. We get to have lots of cool things to listen to check out. And yeah, let's give it a shot. Hopefully we can get through this at a reasonable pace and also more time for you to go on with your day after checking everything out. Starting off with our usual first segment is the highlights of the month. This can be for the month of April 2024. Another really solid month, lots of really good stuff. I got 5 main picks for you. So starting off, we have Replicant from USA with their new album called Infinite Mortality. These guys play a sort of combination of dissonant death metal with sort of proggy, techy, groovy, hardcore type of elements. I usually like to kind of describe these guys as Gojira for Death fans, mainly because compared to your usual dissonant death metal type of stuff, these guys write much more very groovy, riff-oriented type of stuff. Like, you know, if you're really into the riffs and just slow, almost kind of breakdown-oriented type of styles of like Gojira, Machine Head, those kinds of bands, and you've been wanting to dive further into dissonant death metal, but some of the bands are a little just too wacky and skronky, Replicant is the exact band that you need to get yourself into, because these guys just absolutely nail just the way that they compose these songs, just riff after riff, very memorable songwriting, some of the most memorable stuff that I've heard these guys listen to. They had another album a couple of years back that I just thought was absolutely insane, and this might even top that one. Considering this is my top pick for this month, these guys are a massive recommendation for sure. I absolutely love what these guys are doing, and Transcending Obscurity as well, the record label that they're signed to, have been just knocking it out of the park this year as well so far. So these guys are a massive recommendation. Go check them out if you're into, even if you're not as into like groove metal and stuff like that. I think even as a dissonant death metal fan, I think you're going to find some pretty big, that's the word I'm looking for. There's definitely things to find in this. The songwriting's good. Go listen and give it a chance. Just trust me. Next up, coming from Germany, is a new band I actually came across, and called Grind. They dropped an album called Grace and Misery, and this is some really interesting stuff. I ended up digging into their first album as well. This is their second one. They started off a little bit more just kind of straightforward death grinds with some melodic death metal tinges, and while they kind of maintained that sound in this new album, they actually kind of start adding more kind of post-metal, almost kind of black gaze kind of elements, which is kind of a good reason to really pull me in. Again, combining different genres, trying new things, that's always going to be a guarantee it's going to pull me in. And this album just absolutely nailed it. I was really floored by how versatile it is, the performances, production, just everything about it is just like so, it's just great. Like the very grindy stuff just really pulls you in. It's heavy, and then when it slows down, it just really gets just grandiose and atmospheric. Almost kind of like that Severus album I was talking about from last month. Although not as like, like death doomy kind of stuff, but just like a more death grind adjacent of what Severus did. So if that really pulled you in, then this album from Grind, definitely check this one out, because I think it is one of the more unique records, and probably still for some time going to be one of the more overlooked releases. And I kind of want to help to change that, because it's worth mentioning. So yeah, give that one a listen for sure. Antichrist Siege Machine. Now, these guys are not exactly, well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're popular, but they're definitely one of the more talked about bands as of late. If I recall, this is their third album now, which is called Vengeance of Eternal Fire. These American war metalers, so to put it, these guys have been really pushing and pummeling down with this genre, because like I mentioned about Vitriol, with their release in January, something about the intensity of that release just really pulled me in, and it kind of almost had that war metal influence into it. So that kind of thing, if you're really into, then Antichrist Siege Machine's new album definitely is going to pull you in, especially if you're more into just like quick but also really heavy groovy death metal riffs, like very of the crusty type, I think. Just really good riffs, really just angry, and they know how to express it. And I think that that's just the kind of thing that I think if you're looking for just angry music, just really chaotic, then like this album, definitely give this one a shot, because I think that they really pulled it off with this. Coming from, this is actually a combination of places. If I recall, basically from Venezuela and Chile is this black metal band called Selbst. They put out an album this year called Despondency Chord Progressions. And compared to what they've done before, which generally is still like not the most straightforward black metal, but it's generally more focused on your traditional black metal. But this album, while it has that, has moments where they kind of step out of their comfort zone and try new things. And there's a couple of songs that really, again, push more into that kind of post-metal side of things, and even throw in some clean vocals, which I thought was really intriguing. And not often you hear like black metal with clean vocals, unless it's usually like progressive black metal of some sorts or whatever, like looking at Dark Fortress, for example. But these guys actually, they got a really interesting thing going on. And like the black metal side of things, generally more straightforward, but like sort of dissonant, but not, well, yeah, I think people who are into that kind of thing are definitely going to appreciate that. And as a bonus, if you're open to wanting to hear more things like boundary pushing and trying different things, then this album, I think, will grab your attention, because I really like what they did on this. It's one of those albums too where it starts off where I thought it was like, oh yeah, this is quite promising, and then as the track list proceeded, I found more to hook on to. And then when the clean vocals started, I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And then it just, yeah, it kept me hooked, and I knew I had to talk about it. So yeah, definitely go give this one a listen. I really, really like this one. All right. And last one I'm going to talk about for the main top 5 highlights. I'm going to have my honorable mentions after, of course, but last of the top 5. This is actually another from Transcending Obscurity Records, which as I mentioned, has been absolutely annihilating this year so far. This album is called Beneath the Blazing Abyss. It's from Finnish band Baron. These guys are doing a kind of clash of death metal and death doom. That kind of genre, especially this year, has really been grabbing my attention. Again, talking about Severus and Slime Lord. Again, focusing on just really just heavy, almost kind of hardcore riff-oriented type of playing. And that kind of thing really gets me going. I really like when you got just like really slow, chunky riffs, but they get kind of fast beats going at the same time. Like it's really versatile, and hence, you know, the death doom metal tag as well, because they slow it down when they need to, and it really hits when they do. So again, the variety of this record I thought was necessary to kind of keep the listener engaged. And for me, I think it's essential, and that got me hooked onto it. So absolutely well just put together. This is a massive highlight for me as well. Really, really good stuff. I absolutely love this. Baron put the nail in the park for that. Good stuff. Definitely check that one out. And yeah, so that's my top 5 highlights for the month of April 2024. Honorable mentions I'm going to list out quickly are going to go to Amiensis with their album Reclamation Part 1. If you're into progressive atmospheric black metal with melodic black metal elements, give that one a listen. Kvadrat with their album The Horrible Dissonance of Oblivion from Greece. Some kind of dissonant blackened death metal, really good stuff. Give that one a listen if you're into that. Dune with their album Voidkind from UK. Progressive post metal, sludge metal, you get the drift. Really into that, go give that one a listen. And also last honorable mention goes to the band Malavich with their EP called Trembling and Doused. They're from the States. If you're really curious about your post-metal tinge screamo with dissonance, sludgy death metal stuff, really cool stuff, give that one a listen to. Moving on now, right to our discoveries of the month. This segment is to give overlooked releases a chance to get mentioned and talked about. Not everything's going to be exclusively overlooked releases per se, but things that I just happened to come across that I never gave a chance until, well, this month. So, without further ado, my top 5 picks for my discoveries of the month. Starting with a band called Soulless. This actually came out last year and is with their album called The Supreme Resurgence. This is some kind of black gaze, post-metal type of stuff. As of late, I've been really digging into this style, and you're going to find a good chunk of that. So this band with this album, the first time I knew I was going to get really pulled into it, and up to like the closing track, which absolutely floored me. I was just, I need to come back to this. I need to listen to this again, because this is some absolutely astonishing stuff. And yeah, I kind of decided that this is a masterpiece. So I'm putting this at the top of my list for my favorite discoveries for this month, because wow, it is beautiful. It is aggressive at the same time. Actually, well, okay, maybe not quite aggressive, but black gaze has to have some sort of aggression to have a bit of the black metal side of things, but much more just melancholic, melodic, and just beautiful. That is generally the main focus of this genre, but there are some heavy moments that really pulls you in, and that's kind of what really set the stone and just completing that circle, like not too much of anything, you know? So with that said, very, very memorable and just an absolutely beautiful listen. Go give this one a listen. I absolutely love this album. I even had to order the vinyl because well, you know, I'm a record collector. I'm going to buy my favorite stuff. Yeah, go listen to it. Next up, this is going to be another one of those questionably, whether if it's metal enough to talk about, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it if I think that it's passable. That's why I'm talking about it here, and also why. Well, I picked it. This is some good stuff. Trust me. This is from Mexican band Fractal. They put out an album called Volume 2. I'm going to try to say the rest of it here is actually in Spanish here. El Reflejo de la Ausencia. So basically, you'll know what I mean. If you see Volume 2, yeah. Basically, so this is some neo-crust adjacent post-rock screamo kind of stuff. So again, hence why it's questionable whether it's mentioned about being metal or not. But the screamo neo-crust aspects are what kind of adds on the aggressive side of it. And I think that it's worthy enough to talk about. And also, again, as I mentioned, I absolutely love this album. I want to talk about it. They're not a very known band whatsoever, so I want to give them a shot. And really, really good stuff. Again, another kind of thing that I've been really getting into, like with crust punk, melodic type of stuff. And these guys absolutely really nailed down on that. So yeah, give that one a listen. Greyhaven, they dropped an album called Empty Black. These guys are from the States. This is one from 2018. I actually came across and wanted to dive in further because they also dropped a new EP this year. And while I thought it would be good to mention, I figure I'm going to talk about them as one of my favorite discoveries because this album is the one to like really pull me in with these guys. Just absolutely super catchy, super memorable. Basically, if you're into your really hardcore oriented, like alternative metal, post-hardcore with mathcore tinges, very much if you're into the likes of like Dillinger, Escape Plan, and Every Time I Die, these kinds of bands that like know how to, just put in really wacky, chaotic riffs on top of really catchy stuff. These guys got that exact going for that type of sound. So yeah, I absolutely love that album. Super catchy. One of the most memorable releases I came across for that style. So if you're into that, listen to it. Going on to Brazil with a really interesting one. And this, I would say, almost could be, well, it is definitely a metal release, but it's got a lot of non-metal elements too that could probably turn some metalheads away. So bear with me here. This is an artist called Brie. This is an album called Sem Proposito. I hope I'm saying that right. So basically, what pulls in the metalheads would be that this is an avant-garde atmospheric black metal release. What might turn them away is that it also fuses Sybient, ambient techno, and progressive electronic. So there's a lot of really those just electronic music, kind of dancey type of things going on throughout the release. And I think that the way that it contrasts with the atmospheric black metal just makes it quite like such a unique experience. And this release in particular, I just thought was absolutely well done. Not really a moment that pulled me away from it whatsoever. Obviously, because I'm generally a little more open-minded with other genres and I want to give this a chance, and I just thought it was absolutely wonderful. So if you're among those folks who wants to try jumping into electronic dance music, or just in general want to listen to more experimental stuff and want to try something different, this album is definitely up there as something that I highly recommend checking out because it is absolutely wonderful. Next one, this can be the last main choice for my top 5 discoveries of the month. This one is by an artist named Caron Ursay. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Again, with an unpronounceable names, at least for me. Ujuba I feel like I have to, but I mean, okay, you know what? Simo's going to have the title there. I'm not going to bother. But it's one of their albums. You'll see the title. You'll know what it is. But basically, so they're from Finland. This is some kind of a contrast of kind of shoegazy space rock revival thrown in also with kind of like progressive post-rock metal. So what's really interesting with this is, again, it's kind of borders again being kind of mixed with some really jammy rock or oriented kind of stuff, almost kind of krautrocky, but it gets pretty heavy in like long drawn out moments that are usually more like kind of long instrumental sections that's where it usually focuses on getting heavy. And that's where kind of like, especially people really into the, Cult of Luna type of atmospheric sludge metal, would really dig those sections, I find. But anyone who is curious about generally, space rock, shoegazy oriented stuff as well, this album is absolutely wonderful. I really, really dig how they kind of, it's really interesting how the album progresses, because like more of the metal elements are actually on the latter half. So bear with me if like you're like, where's the metal, like in the first half, because trust me, it comes and it really hits, even if it's not like, super like in your face pummeling or whatever. It's just it's in the atmosphere. It's expressed in that, and the way it builds up, it's heavy in the atmospheric side of things. So that's the kind of thing, if you're into, then highly recommend this one as well, because I think it is an absolutely wonderful album. Very versatile, really well done in like the atmospheres, and yeah, it's just go listen to it. It's really good. Honorable mentions is a long list because I found a lot of things. So I'm just going to skim through everything here. I hope you have your notebook ready. If not, and if you happen to have Spotify, as I mentioned, we have a playlist. Go give it a follow, and we'll have all of these in that playlist. But if you're not on there for certain reasons, understandable. If it has to do with just Spotify's not so great practices, that's totally respectable. But here is the list if you so want to mark it down or whatever. So let's jump through it quick. Gonna go in chronological order, starting with 1994 with the band Unbroken, their album Life, Love, Regret from USA. Check it out if you're into your sort of sludgy metalcore, post-hardcore kind of stuff. 2001, Seven Angels, Seven Plagues. Their album is called Jasmine's Lullaby. Another American artist, actually with old members of Misery Signals. So if you're familiar with them and you want to check some of their older stuff, definitely give that one a listen. Jumping straight to 2012, we have The Secret with their album Agnus Dei. I hope that's how you pronounce it. They're from Italy with really intense blackened crust, metalcore, sludgy stuff. Check it out if you're into that. Spotlights from USA with their album Seismic. This one came out in 2017. Very doom-gazy, atmospheric sludge with some alternative metal, post-rocky, proggy. It's all over the place. Check this one if you're into that kind of stuff. Idols with an album called Joy as an Act of Resistance. Not a particularly underground band, but I had to mention because I thought it would be cool to talk about to throw in for metalheads that want to try getting into heavier post-hardcore type of stuff. This album's from 2018. Go give that one a listen if you're curious about that. None from USA. Damp Chill of Life. Beautiful album. Go listen to it. Atmospheric, depressive black metal with some doomy ambient vibes. From 2019. Absolutely beautiful album. Go listen to it. Violet Cold with their album Cosmic. Some more black gaze, doom gaze from 2019, actually from Azerbaijan. I hope I'm saying that country correctly. Wonderful stuff. Ochapar with their self-titled EP. They're from Canada, actually from here in Montreal. Give them a shout out. I actually saw them with Fuck the Facts. So that's how I came across them and decided to check them out. And yeah, so if you're really into also similarly like kind of slow, doomy, black gaze, post-rock type of stuff, give this one a listen. This one came out in 2020. Continuing down into 2021 now is a three-way split with Paranul, Asian Glow, and Sonos Tamam Costa, all from South Korea and Brazil. Their album is called Downfall of the Neon Youth. So this one, check out if you're really into, again, more kind of shoegazy emo with like noise pop and black gaze, especially elements. The black gaze is where it's like, okay, it's mellow enough, I suppose. I just thought I'd throw it in there because another fantastic release I came across. Verberis with their album Adumbration of the Veiled Logos. It's a New Zealand, Germany combination band. This album came out in 2022. Fuses black metal, atmospheric, sludge, and dissonant death metal. You're into those kind of things, give that one a listen. Got two more for you. Lamp of Murmur, actually from last year, with their album Saturnian Bloodstorm. From the USA, some pretty straightforward black metal, sort of elements of melodic black metal as well, so definitely check that if you're into that. And the closing one, also from 2023, is the album called The Atheist from Ukrainian and Polish artist Three Eyes of the Void. More atmospheric black metal with tinges of progressive melodic black metal, really gorgeous stuff. And that is my list for honorable mentions. So I hope that list was thorough enough that some of it or all of it happened to pull you in. If you're curious, as I mentioned, go check them out. Check out the playlist. Everything is there. I have my track picks for each release, so that way you can hear a song from each one. And if you so desire, you end up liking the song, save the album or the EP, and listen to later. And yeah, I actually almost forgot to plan ahead for my pick of the month. Actually not entirely sure what to talk about, but oh, this could be a good one. Okay, yeah, I think I know what I'm going to go about. Okay, so apologies. I absolutely adore this release. And I've talked about before how I've been trying to dig into Death Doom and never really found all that much for some time. And then, generally finding things that are more death metal focused, like very death metal oriented Death Doom. It's not as much straightforward Death Doom, with very few exceptions. But this artist and album, both goes by the same name, is none other than Chornobog. Now, the solo artist for this project goes by Markov Soroka, who also has a couple of other projects as well. But Chornobog, this project album, came out in 2017. And I remember when this came out, I remember hearing about it and people saying it's just like some really out of this world, just hard to get into, hard to digest, weird release. And for that reason, I felt that was just not going to be for me. So I kind of brushed it aside. And when it became time that I eventually was able to sit through and enjoy, much more extreme metal stuff, because I didn't get into extreme metal until I guess around 2019, 20-ish, like a good, like at least 5 years ago. Imagine that, right? So I guess it would have been probably around, I guess maybe 4 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, not so far into, but like relatively probably within the first year, I think, of getting into the death metal genre and then taking a stab at Death Doom. And basically with this album, there was something about it that just I knew was going to pull me in. I was kind of, I started digging into this by kind of hearing little snippets here and there because I was curious what to expect in general from the overall soundscape. And as soon as I heard what was going on just sonically in the riffs and everything, and I was just like, oh, this does have a lot of promise to really pull me in. So I decided to give it a chance and really just focus on it and sit through it. And it took some time. I'll definitely admit that it took some time to really sit and just learn to appreciate it. But what really got me, I think, eventually was I knew that this is something I had to get on vinyl. I had to just take this in fully with, like, you know, that organic vinyl feel and just sit with it and really just take the experience all the way through. And as soon as I did that, I sat with it, I listened to it, just sit myself in a dark room, really just sit with it and just enjoy everything from front to back, the entire 1 hour plus experience of just 4 songs that are all like more than 12 minutes each, with one of them that's like, I think even like 20 minutes plus. Yeah. Basically, to put it, it blew me away, and this just continued to top my all-time charts to the point that I'd say it's like top 20 of all time. It might even go up even more the more I keep going back to it. It's just that good, to me at least. And yeah, it's just everything that I was looking for and hoping for in a Death Doom release. I would say that it's got a lot of black metal going on too, which is definitely a plus. And I think because I've recently been getting more into black metal, this album grew on me even more, especially because I think the second track actually really is like the most black metal oriented song. And I always felt that was the weakest because of that. But now I don't know what to pick as my weakest song because they all just go absolutely insanely hard. It's just that good of an album. And I will say, if I had to pick a favorite, one that I go to back to often is probably the least heavy one, actually. Track 3 is called Non-Existence's Warmth. And that song, in its entirety, 14 minutes, is just absolutely beautiful. It kind of just pulls you in with some really just gutturals and weird stuff going on in the background, just very reverby, and then it just kind of fades out into some beautiful guitars, just really like clean guitars, like actually just like, it's all of a sudden it's like they went Pink Floyd. Whoa, this is really interesting. And then the saxophone comes in and it's like kind of a proggy beat, and you're just kind of like so entranced by it. And it's just like, whoa, what is going on? This is so not what you expect. And then before you realize that, the heavy guitars come back in, just absolutely pummeling, and then memorable melodies, kind of makes you think of Agalok almost. And just one of the most unique songs. And just when it comes to just memorable, atmospheric, and just really engaging, just softer, that like melancholic, but still pretty heavy songs, that song is just absolutely gorgeous. Like, if there was any song I can give like an 11 on 10, this is definitely one. Like, it is absolutely just perfect from front to back, and I never get tired of listening to it. It pulls me in every time. I can never just not pay attention to it. It is just an absolutely beautiful song. But anyways, just this entire album, the way it flows from front to back is also spectacular. Obviously, if you're listening to on vinyl, each track has to have a certain fade out. At least it fades out instead of like cutting out. And the fades actually work really wonderfully between sides. But if you're listening to on streaming or on Bandcamp or whatever, the digital version, it just flows seamlessly front to back, and it is a gorgeous experience in its own right. But if you do have the chance to get this on vinyl and listen to it like on each side and enjoy each song for what it is, I absolutely recommend it. I absolutely just am in love with this album. It's just everything that I said that I look for when it comes to just really melodic but heavy and riffy, just everything when it comes to just death doom. Yeah, this is the peak of death doom. I know other people would say disembowelment or spectral voice or esoteric, some of the other bands I've talked about in the previous months, who, again, I've said they put out fantastic stuff, but this album is just absolute peak. I can't not promote it enough. This release is just absolutely incredible. Markov did a fantastic job on it, and I'm really excited to see where they go forward. They did do a song as well in a split with Abyssal, which was also a fantastic release. Maybe not quite up to par, although maybe I just need more time to sit with me as well. But this album in particular, the self-titled one, is like absolutely just sit with it and let it build in. All right. I feel like I probably talked just a little too much about that album, but I mean, that just shows how much I'm really into it. And yeah, that's going to be my talks for today, for the highlights and discoveries and just albums in general for this month of April. So thank you very much for sticking around and listening to me rant about my favorite music. Again, my name is Colin McAndrew. And thanks for listening. Make sure to give us a follow, like, and subscribe to Metal Minded. And thanks again so much for supporting the channel and keep up to date with everything that we're doing. And until then, see you for the month of May. And have yourselves a good day / night, evening, whatever time of the day it is. Cheers. Enjoy. Thanks.